Hi, this is Robert Kiyosaki, and you're listening to Capital Hacking. This is the most important thing you can listen to today.
Here's the one.
I have a dream.
With great power comes great responsibility.
I could do this all day.
This is it. Don't get scared now.
They may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom.
Cinderella story out of nowhere.
It's in the hole. That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Capital Hacking begins in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to the big show. Josh McCallan. It's the beginning of baseball season here soon, John. So no tomahawk today, just a bat swing.
Yeah, you came to the plate. That was a nice swing. I like the technique. Today we interviewed Shawn Stratton. Really incredible information you're going to learn about. There's some cool stories where he was doing outdoor adventuring for a long time, was on 6 out of 7 continents, and shares this incredible story. You gotta listen to hear that one. And then he did his due diligence on franchising. Spoke to another good friend of ours, Brian Beers. And Brian helped to point him in the direction of buying a franchise. And he bought a cost reduction franchise called Schooley Mitchell. And it is incredible what they do.
Yeah, I think that's the way I want to frame it too. It's just exciting. Great to hear. It depends where you're at in your journey, folks. Maybe it's something you're considering, owning a business. Maybe you want that tenacity to go out and build your own company, make that transition. So we cover that, and I think that'll be a great episode here for you. I think you're going to love this one.
Love it. Cheers.
We got Shawn Stratton from the Canadian lands, John.
Yes. Excited to interview you today, Shawn. And tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, excited to be here. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Enjoy the show, and I've lots of friends that have been on over the years, and so it's a great honor. I'm up here in Ottawa, Canada. I grew up in Newfoundland on the far east coast of Canada,
like
and I've lived around the U.S. and Canada and around the world. I've had a very diverse background, but 15 years, I guess, out of college, I worked in outdoor education. So leading wilderness expeditions around the world, mountaineering and sea kayaking, backpacking and whitewater canoeing and all that stuff on 6 of the 7 continents around the world, mostly with U.S. college students doing semester programs and that. So that was a different chapter in my life, but definitely living the dream at the time. But it can only roll on for so long if you want to settle down and have a community and have a relationship and all that. So that was a fun part. And then I leveraged that leadership training into, I did a master's in leadership and then started corporate leadership training and did a bunch of keynote speaking on leadership and team building, utilizing my adventure stories, and wrote a book and did a TED Talk and had all that fun stuff. And I still do that today. And I'll always do that. I love the speaking part. I love leadership, very passionate about it. And met my wife in that process and started having kids, and her career kind of took over. I took a little bit of a backseat to spend more time with the kids. Kind of 6 or 7 years, I was kind of an at-home dad with a bunch of side projects. 3 weeks into being an at-home dad, I decided to start a nonprofit international film festival. So I wasn't that good at shutting everything down. Started a nonprofit film festival. It's still running now. It's like 7 years going, which has been fun. And had a couple of side projects here and there, and the last couple of years been in doing some B2B sales for an event management company that I was really passionate about in the plant-based world. And about a year ago, I started looking at buying businesses. It was kind of, the kids were old enough now that I could get more in the workforce and have more hours in the day. So I thought anyway, and did a bunch of research on buying businesses, talked to Brian Beers, learned more about franchising and franchises, and eventually got connected with Schooley Mitchell through a franchise consultant and bought a Schooley Mitchell franchise to a cost reduction business. And here I am diving into it, loving life. Yeah.
I love that Brian Beers is part of your story. We're enormous fans of that tenacious entrepreneur, right, John?
Yes, sir. Just saw him last week. Great.
Oh, yeah.
Great guy.
Yeah.
Can I take you back a little bit though? Let's talk a little bit about the outdoor adventures, man. 6 continents that you were leading college students. Now I've heard, I remember when I was in high school, I saw an advertisement for I think it was something Outward Bound or something like
Yeah,
that. And I
yeah,
thought,
exactly. I worked
yeah, I'm like,
for Outward Bound for several years, but I mainly worked for the National Outdoor Leadership School, Knowles, which is similar to Outward Bound, a little different, but yeah.
and where's like the craziest place? How long okay, couple questions. How long are the college students doing these adventure or leadership training and all this with you? One. Two, like where's kind of like a crazy place you guys have been to where you're like, oh, like I hope nobody gets bit by a rattlesnake or falls off a cliff or something.
Yeah, I've had all those scenarios. um, Yeah, so generally a lot of those expeditions are about 25 to 28 days. I've done 2 semester programs where I'm with the same students for up to 90 days. One of those was in Alaska, so it was kind of a month of sea kayaking, a month of backpacking, and a month of whitewater canoeing in the Arctic. The
What?
the Baja semester was a month of sailing, a month of sea kayaking, and a month of backpacking. In terms of the crazy stories, I've got a lot. I wrote a book a few years ago called Teams on the Edge, so it highlights kind of 6 of the more epic events that we had, and I pulled out the team building lessons that come from those events. Kind of the main one that I did a TED talk on a few years ago was a guy that broke his leg, had an open compound fracture, so bone sticking out of his leg at 12,000 feet in the Himalayas in India. About 6 miles from the China border, where we're not supposed to have satellite phones, but thankfully we did.
Wow.
Oh
So
my
managing
goodness.
that situation was really challenging. It was in the fall. We weren't expecting much snow. We finally got in touch with a helicopter from through the U.S. Embassy. There's no 911, we go through the U.S. Embassy, go through the Indian military. 19 hours later that night, find out it's going to come in the next morning. A helicopter's coming in to pick them up. And
Wow.
that night it ended up snowing 3 feet.
Oh my gosh.
And so we're like on the side of this valley, on this ridge, on a little balcony on this deep valley, and we're just like, man, there's no way there's helicopters get in here with the weather, and we're using our frying pan to shovel out the tents from collapsing, and all on top of having a student with a bone sticking out of his leg for these hours, and that was a fun, harrowing experience. Fun
crazy.
in retrospect.
And on top of that, you're a vegan guy, so you're doing all that with super lean. I'm sure you're a very lean fella, very athletic.
Yeah, this was before my vegan days, but turning vegan wasn't a big deal because I'd spent so much time on expeditions where meat is not a thing that you're really carrying around in your backpack for a month at a time. So it was fairly plant-based then anyway. But yeah. And then my hobbies after the expedition world and getting kids, when your risk management tolerance changes a little, I've gotten more back into triathlons, which I've done. And so now I do more ultra marathons, trail running, and get my adventure fix that way. It's a little less risky.
Well, I'd love to dig in on some of the business, though. Phenomenal life experiences. I imagine they make you well-rounded. How many children did you share all that already?
I haven't. I've got 3 girls, so they're 13, 11, and 7. So
are
they super busy years.
Are they into some of that adventure stuff? Do you guys do any?
They are. They really enjoy it. We spend a lot of time out in the Rockies. Their grandparents are in Calgary, and we spend a lot of time out there in the Rockies. They're all swimmers, competitive swimmers. Their mother was an elite swimmer, so right now I'm driving to 15 swim practices a week.
Well,
up at 4:30 every day. So yeah,
the kids are great. We hear about cost reduction, these business optimization programs.
Right.
And this is your platform here. There's a lot of wonderful people listening to the show. I want to probe it a little bit. Okay. So how does it go? Why don't you give us the 1-minute elevator pitch? How does it work?
Sure.
How's it going to save us money? And what are the main lines of business you're going to save money in?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a cost reduction service. A lot of cost reduction companies out there, and they're not many. Many of them will charge an upfront fee to do an audit to see if they can eventually save you money. We offer a no-cost audit because we're pretty confident that we're going to save you money. Obviously, if we weren't that confident, we couldn't be offering these for 25 years that the business has been around. And so we do a no-cost audit, and that's where we pick a category or two. We have 16 categories. I can get into those, but we can use telecom or waste. Let's use waste as an example. Maybe you've got a building owner and they've got a dumpster that gets dumped once or twice a week. And they're like, I really don't like how much I'm spending on this. The dumpster industry notoriously has a lot of creep, and they just add on extra prices every year without explanation. And so they bring us involved. They're like, hey, can you look at our dumpster costs? It's getting out of control. And we're like, yep, sure. So we do a no-cost audit. Once they sign on the service agreement, that's basically, it says, we want you to do this service. We're going to provide you the information we need. So we get their statements from them. We get the information that their contract and their statements, basically. We need at least 3 months statements, ideally longer, especially if it's a seasonal business. If we're dealing with a golf course or a tennis club, things like that, we need a seasonal business. Will need more statements. And so we create a baseline price. And so this is what your average price you're paying a month is. And that's what we base our savings plan off of. Once we do the analysis on that, we get a baseline, and then we renegotiate with your current provider, and we also negotiate with 2 competitors. Now, at Schooley Mitchell, the biggest competitive advantage that we have is that we've got 25,000 past clients. And so we know what everybody else is paying, essentially.
Right.
If you've got a business with 40 employees, you got 40 lines coming in, 40 phone lines, or you've got 40 cell phones. Basically, we can go, okay, we got 10 more businesses like that. This is how much we've reduced their costs. And so we know that they're, say a dumpster, they're paying $500 a month for that many loads. And you're actually paying $1,000 a month. And so let's talk to your provider about that. And so that's where our leverage comes with. So we renegotiate with your current provider, and then we bring 2 competitors in to give them a chance to bid. A lot of times, about 80% of the time, we'll stay with the current provider. A lot of people are worried to signing up. They're like, oh, I've got a relationship with my provider, or it's going to be a pain to move. And they just automatically think that we're going to move them. But it's like, no, most of your providers want to keep you. It's a lot cheaper for them to keep you than, find someone else. And so we negotiate with them. And a lot of times when I'm dealing with a client, they might have a procurement department, or I might be talking to a CFO that's like, feels responsible. It's like, no, actually, that's my job. I can't bring you in to do that. And it's like, no, we're part of your team. You don't have the time to be thinking about this. You've got so much else going on. And a lot of times, if it's just you and them, so it's you and the dumpster guy, you're paying $1,000 a month. You're like, I need to get this down to $750. So the waste management company is like, I want to keep you. And they go back and forth like, okay, we'll go to $750. But we know everybody else is paying $500. So you're leaving money on the table. And that's the big difference, is that
That's
we
well
have
said,
that data.
by the way. That's well said. I get it. Your point is, we think maybe we can get it down to 750, but you can get it down to 500. Now let's go back and just say, even if you do it quickly, because
Sure.
people like me in operating businesses, I do wonder what lines of business are we talking about? I get it.
Sure.
Telephone and waste. I got it. That's the ones I would have guessed. Electricity. Yep. Why don't you run through them real quick? Do you mind? You have the list?
Sure. Yeah. The big ones, we kind of have the big 4, which is telecom, waste, merchant service fees. So anything credit card fees, that kind of 3 to 5% that people pay on top of credit cards. The other big ones are shipping. So small package shipping and less than truckload shipping. 150 pounds is kind of the difference there. So any e-commerce, those are the big ones. A lot of people will come in on those, and then we'll introduce some other ones. So other ones we have are electronic tracking devices. So a lot of times we deal with companies that have a fleet of vehicles. Yeah. So we can negotiate electronic track devices. And along that lines, we have fuel cards that we can negotiate, fuel cards for fleets. Uniforms and linens is also a pretty big one, especially in the hospitality industry. And along with uniforms and linens is actually, up here in Canada, we have a lot of these mats at every retail store, the big mats in the wintertime when kicking the snow off. And those cost a fortune to rent. And a lot of times the same companies. So things like that, mats. And then we get into like facility supplies. So all the cleaning supplies that you would have at a building or any kind of commercial establishment. Other ones are compressed gases. So propane, oxygen. So like a seniors facility would probably have oxygen. A lot of manufacturing would have propane and other compressed gases. Other small ones are office supplies, break room supplies, packing and supplies are a big one as well, especially for e-commerce companies. So like all the boxes and the wraps and things like that. So that covers the gamut. The 16, we're always adding more. For 20, I think about 15 years, it was just telecom for the company. And then they've, in the last 10 years, just really exploded with other categories.
What's interesting is with telecom, the fact is that this is the part that always throws me off, why I never pulled the trigger on one of these groups before, is you're under agreement. You know what I mean? Right. You're under agreement. Let's say one of our institutions has, a Comcast contract or something. They got you, right? They got you in that contract for 2 more years or 1.5 more years. What do you say to those people that say, forget it, we have to wait another year?
Yeah, good question. There's a lot of things that go on with contracts. A lot of times they'll renegotiate within the contract, especially if we can lay out like, hey, this is what 5 other businesses just like this one are paying. And they realize we got them. It's like, hey, this is not looking good. And Schooley Mitchell is so big enough that we have relationships with a lot of these reps. So we have a relationship with a rep at Comcast. So they know Schooley Mitchell. And so
Mhm.
they're like, oh, you're Schooley Mitchell guy. Yeah, okay, let's talk. Dennis Schooley, the founder and still running Schooley Mitchell, says that when Schooley Mitchell calls, they sharpen their pencil
Yeah.
because they know when they're for tough negotiations. So a lot of contracts you can actually negotiate within the contract.
Okay.
Then there's other times where sometimes it's worth breaking a contract. Sometimes there's a penalty, and it's even like we can find. So even telecom's a great example. If we move someone from a traditional hardline to voice over internet, like that savings can be enormous. So it's like, hey, we'll pay the $2,000 penalty to break because you're saving, over a year, you might be saving 10 or 15 grand. So there's those situations. We've also had situations, say in shipping, where FedEx has actually paid the penalty breaking fee to break a UPS contract.
Got it.
Or even Waste. Waste will say, hey, we'll give you your first month bin for free if you switch over for us. And that's basically covering the cost of breaking a contract. So, and then finally, there's other times where it's like, hey, your contract's up in a month. Let's just wait a month or two, and then we'll do it.
Hi, this is Melanie McCallan. Josh and I are just so grateful for the many investors who have already joined us at Accountable Equity. Accountable Equity is so much more than a capital group. It's really a community of accredited investors that want to learn and grow together. I just want to personally invite you, if you want to find out more about this type of investment and see if it's right for you and your family, please visit us at accountableequity.com.
Hey, it's Hal Elrod, author of The Miracle Morning, and you're listening to Capital Hacking. Enjoy.
So contracts aren't a barrier for us.
Here's what I'm also hearing from Shawn, though, is that you're saying, hey, there's no obligation for me to look into this and see what I can save you and then present it. So
right.
I don't even see contracts or whatever as, something that's a barrier, because if I have a big business and you're not asking me for an upfront fee, I want the cost analysis. It just
it really is a no-brainer.
Yeah, because there's no skin in the game for me.
Yeah, like our biggest objection is probably egos. People think, no, we actually probably got the best price, or that person in finance that it's like concerned that it's going to look bad on them if we come up with a better price. And I'm like, no, we're going to make you look good because you brought in someone. And then over the 3 years of our contract, we basically take over. We're the front face for your company with that vendor. So you never call Comcast to deal with billing for the next 3 years. You don't have to sit on hold. That's one of our marketing ploys. We sit on hold for you because business owners want to save money, but sometimes more of the fact is the time that we actually save them.
Yeah.
Because who wants to call Comcast to negotiate their rates? It's going to take hours on the hold and that. And so it goes on for more. So over the next 3 years, we're analyzing every statement. One of the questions I say when I'm in a briefing with a potential client is like, do you have software that analyzes your statements for errors and omissions? Well, no, no, they don't, but we do. And most business owners are not analyzing their statements, looking for, creep or extra service fees or that fuel surcharge. When those fees pop up on it, we flag them and call them back and say, no, take them off, please.
Wow. And then what's like your wheelhouse for a business that you work with? What's the bread and butter?
Yeah, it ranges. There's some Schooley Mitchell offices that just specialize in one vertical. So there's a gentleman out in California that just does dental offices. So he's got hundreds of clients that are just dental offices, and he's optimizing them in all the ways. Other Schooley Mitchell offices will just do e-commerce or just do waste. And so they'll do a vertical on that. Generally, the bigger the company, the bigger the savings. Ideally, it's probably a $5 million revenue, $10 million revenue. I know some Schooley Mitchell offices will only look at $10 million in revenue and 40 employees as a starting point. I have several clients that are, less than $1 million clients, and I'm happy to talk to anybody and everybody. But obviously, the bigger the expenditures, the better chance for us to find savings. We've got up to $100 million businesses. We've got a business we're working with that has a $12 million shipping budget, and they're so busy they've never negotiated any rates, and they're paying $12 million in shipping a year. And so we found massive savings for them.
Wow, it's incredible. And so you must have gone through a lot of different like franchises before you chose. Like what brought you to this point?
Yeah, a lot of different things. Anytime you make a business buying decision, it's not just the hard facts of the numbers. It's like lifestyle, it's family, it's your skills and experience. It's all got to blend together. And there's a lot of people that have made wrong decisions in terms of, I thought this is what I was getting into. Like any business, they talk about due diligence. And for me, with Schooley Mitchell, I kind of went down the rabbit hole with 3 or 4 other franchises once I decided I was really interested in franchising. And I started talking. The really kind of the rubber hits the road when you start talking to other franchisees that have been in the business for a few years, because you can talk to a franchise consultant or the person trying to sell you the franchise, and it's all pussycats and rainbows, And then you talk to the real owners that are into the weeds on it, and you're like, oh, I get the picture now. And so one or two calls on most of the franchises I was looking at, I was like, okay, yeah, like this one's not for me. But then I got to Schooley Mitchell and I ended up talking to 17 other franchise owners. And I was amazed, and I was just looking for consistencies, I was looking for consistent, stories from them in terms of their experiences over the first couple of years, over the support of the head office, over, the struggles that they had, over the wins that they had. And that's what I was finding, some consistencies. So I was like, all right, well, it can't be this many people that are, making things up to bring another franchise in. And it was, they were really honest opinions and honest thoughts. And I asked questions like people that aren't making it, like, what are the reasons they're not making it? And that was consistent answers in that. And so that gave me the comfort to go ahead with it. And then, yeah, it's got to fit your lifestyle. It's a home office base, which works well. Like I mentioned, I've got 3 busy girls and a wife with a very busy career. And so I needed to be able to drop and do some pickups and some drives here and there. But at the same time, I can work after hours and schedule emails to go out the next morning, things like that. I don't have a office staff. I don't have a brick and mortar. So that was the flexibility.
All right, one more. I know Josh is chomping at the bit. I've been asking all the questions, but I got one more. So how do you get in touch with businesses to get them interested?
Yeah, it's a really referral-based business. We really don't do any marketing at Schooley Mitchell. It's almost 100% referral-based. And so, starting off, it's using your network, using past clients you've had, using friends and family. BNI is really big at Schooley Mitchell, Business Network International. It's a referral group, meets Wednesday mornings or it's mornings. They're all over the world. So I'm a member of the BNI here in Ottawa, and I've gotten a lot of great referrals, and business have signed up from that referral group. And it's just, when people see results, then it's like they want to tell the world about it. Some people have gone to conferences, so joining associations, like the dental gentleman I told you that works with dental practice. He goes to the dental conferences and has a booth, and he has 1 or 2 dentists there that are clients of his, and those guys are like they're screaming from the mountaintops of like, this guy just saved me $25,000. I didn't have to do a thing. And all of a sudden, the dentist, like one conference he went to, he signed up 7 dentists, in an hour, because they were like, sounds good to me. Like, let's do this. So those are the main ways, but really, really utilizing your network, and then getting into bigger companies. It's, utilizing the strategies on LinkedIn where you put in a company and then you find out, well, who's my first or second contacts that have a contact within that company, try to get connections there. So obviously that's like a warm call instead of a cold call, things like that. Great kind of referral sources for us are accountants, CFOs, bookkeepers, things like that. People that are kind of in the finance side of the business that realize, they have a passion for finance, they have a passion for saving money, and they realize other businesses that maybe are struggling or paying too much for these areas.
Well, it's awesome to get to know you, and I love the journey. You shared 2 great journeys, right? Cost reduction journey and the business you do now. I want to let you guys make sure you share how we can reach out to you, but also the journey of how to make a decision about buying a franchise. And I think a lot of people listening here today, number 1 rule, call Brian Beers, the best. We'll have him on the show again. But go ahead, Shawn, share with us how we can reach back out if our listeners are ready to go.
Yeah, awesome. It's, to reach me, it's, this is Schooley Mitchell. It's a SCHOOLEY Mitchell, MITCHELL.com/Shawn Stratton. That's how you can find me.
You guys.
And you spell Shawn SHAWN Stratton, STRATTON for those listeners and can't see us.
Yes. Yeah.
We appreciate you guys.
Googling that, you'll find Shawn Stratton, Schooley Mitchell. You should be able to find me, no problem.
Awesome. Shawn, thank you. This was an incredible episode. Really appreciate your time and all this great information.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate having me on. Great questions, and it's been fun.
Damn straight. We just got we got to the end of another great show, and everyone listening right now, you're the family and friends. Thanks for staying till the end.
That was so fun. And hey, hit the like, hit subscribe. We're here to serve you guys. That's why we're doing this show. Josh is not paying me. I'm doing this off of my quote unquote sweat equity because we want to make a difference in your life. And then that ripple effect will continue to touch the world.
Hey, amen, brother. Please check us out on capitalhacking.com, all the social media threads. And yes, I know you've probably already sent this episode to one of your best friends. Thank you. We love you. Just go right into your iPhone, hit the plus symbol. We'll talk to you later. See you next week.
Share.